Oh, this is a spicy one. So the real estate agent says to the clients, you should sell at this number. And the client says, I've had a valuation at a higher number. Who's right? Who's wrong? Stay tuned.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Have you ever had this happen with you with a seller, Billy?
Not often. No. Tell me, it sounds like you had something really bad happen.
I had it happen to me.
What's happened?
I was actually the vendor.
Oh, you were the client.
So it was a 20% difference from what the valuation was to where the market, to what my sell price was. 20%.
That's a big.
I'm going
That's
like,
a big.
huge. It's big. It's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah. So, were you refinancing, selling?
Selling.
Okay. And 20%. So yes, look, guys, we're talking about this morning. The valuation or the broker says this is what the banks are telling us. They're like the middleman. They're kind of passing the message on, and sometimes they get, a bullet put through them by the client because they're like, well, we just can't make that work. The real estate agents told us this number, or this is what the market's telling us if we were to sell. So variance in those numbers, and it really does blow deals.
Look, it can go the other way. Like often, we're talking shortcomings, shortfalls, but it can actually go the other way, where a bank valuer goes, I can't believe it's sold for that figure, and then is almost agrees to that number because it was paid. But let's just take this from the top. A bank valuer and a bank valuation is very, very different to what the market pays for a property. So it should be the same number, but when it's not, that's when we've got trouble. So the amount of times I've spoken with clients and they've said, oh my God, I had a valuation of $1 million and you're saying the market's only going to pay 920. And it's like, I know. And the client always says, valuers are more conservative. So I just can't believe that that's where the market value is for the property. So a bank valuer is much more educated than a real estate agent formally. It's a degree, and is not educated by buyers. They are educated by recent sales in the area and substantiation. So when you get through the bank value and say, hey, what's my property worth? They will use data in the market. What if there's no data in the market, but they will use data in the market to substantiate a price? The banks will often lend on that number. It's because it's a credible number. But what happens when you bring through real buyers with real offers and it's not that number? That's what we're talking about today. Which one do you trust? Which one do you go with?
In addition, it's settled data that they work off, not unconditionally sold. So in a market where the prices are growing 5% a quarter, which is what we see, and it may take 12 weeks for the property sold to settle, that will only become a part of their equation once settled, not unconditionally sold. So it tends to be trickier to substantiate valuations in a market where prices are growing, and vice versa in a market where prices are falling or stable.
And what a lot of people don't know is the agent and the valuer don't generally talk about this. They will allow the valuer through the property when a property deal's getting done, but there's no sort of arm wrestle between the agent and the valuer. There's bit of a Chinese wall between them. Where real estate agents and valuers do come together is valuers are always ringing us. We would get probably a call a day or 2 calls a day, maybe even 3, on, hey, you sold this. Can you tell me about it? Or hey, even you can even get valuations on rents, by the way, for residential and commercial. But valuers are calling up trying to substantiate or get more information.
You're just breaking up a bit there, but yeah, that's exactly right. I think Mark will come back in a sec. That valuations don't often have a full short, and you've got to you just tuned out for a sec there, Mark. But they don't often have a full short. But I think where we probably do see them the most would be off the plan projects. Big time differences between exchange and settlement when that market moves.
Ooh.
Generally, towards those. So in our area, tends to not be a problem. Out of Northern Beaches, we do hear clients say they've had trouble, and it's rare at auction to find recent comparables with price. So they tend to just accept that number as the sold price. It's unconditional.
Yeah, and I think also what people don't sort of realise is you can also get another valuation if you're not happy with the current valuation. It may cost, it may be broker that you're using. So if you are unhappy with where that level of valuation comes in, i.e. you think it's worth 1.1 million, the valuation comes in at $1 million. You are really confident that it's 1-1. It's 1-1. Then you can actually always talk to your broker about getting a new valuation. Now, it's pretty hard, I do have to say, almost impossible to get the valuer to change their mind.
Yeah, you're asking them to sort of fall on their sword, saying you got it wrong. It never happens.
Yeah, it never happens. I've had it happen, but it's pretty rare that they'll make a change. I've only ever seen it change where there was lost data and that will recover data, and then they'll go, oh, okay, well, since you've now shown us that data, then yes, we can do that. But very, very rare. But getting a fresh valuer through. Now, something people should also know is I had a property the other day where I said the vendor had a valuation of this amount, and the purchaser said no, they didn't. Something that you should know is there's no central registry for valuations, and you think they would have a central area for valuations. And what I mean by that is you would think that once a valuation was done, that they would plug it into the valuer system, and then all valuers in New South Wales would see the valuation, and that doesn't happen. It's quite private.
Yeah. Lise had a question there. Why are people getting valuers through? Is it for refinancing? The ones we see as an agent is more for the valuation for settlement. So people have a pre-approval, then they're getting a valuation on the property because that pre-approval is subject to valuation. The valuation we're providing access for is for unconditional finance.
Yep. So that's a really good question Lisa's asked. The reason valuations are upheld by financial institutions, legal institutions, they are not a real estate agent, when a real estate agent cannot do a valuation unless they are a registered valuer. A real estate does an opinion of value, so they will guide where they think what people will pay for a property. The valuation certificate that you get can be used by a bank or in a court of law as a valuation. So they're quite highly regarded. They could cost anywhere between, I don't know, $1,500 to to $10,000, depending on the value and style of property that it is. But it's a very it takes a lot of time. The valuer has to inspect the property. The valuer has to do a lot of research and substantiation of price for the property. So, but where the deadlock happens is when us real estate agents bring real buyers and real offers after a 4-week campaign, and the owner says, I've had a valuation different to that, and I'm not going to sell it at that figure due to the valuation that I've had. So, boys and girls, there's an educational on valuations that you may not have known.
Can I just sign off with this? The banks are conservative by design. Banks lend against the lower of the purchase price or the valuation. And about 80% of the loan to value ratio typically triggers that LMI. So when people are getting their valuations done, the shortfall, it then has to be topped up by the buyer tipping in a bit more cash, the valuation coming up. And that's the difference you're seeing.
And the banks and the lending LMI and the mortgage insurer can make a bit of money if there's a bit more of a gap.
Yeah. Sneaky. There you go.
There you go. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. And thanks, Billy Bob, the old man in the young man's body.
See ya. Take care.
See ya. Bye-bye.